Hi everyone, I'm ORESTRIA, and I'm here with Demonac, and it's time for our 2015 fan Q&A.
Yay.
Saint Wicked?
Saint Wicked, I would think.
Maybe. I don't know. They don't come with, pronunciation guides, okay?
Nope.
Any general tips you've discovered in your gaming life for players or dungeon masters?
As a dungeon master, you want to find out what your players want, both in and out of character. If you know what their characters' motivations are, then you can try and set up things that play into that, give them an opportunity to get the things that they want. It doesn't have to be easy, but you have to put it out there, and that'll create some drama. If you want to find out what the players want, so you can run a game that everyone enjoys. Some people want to have just lots and lots of combat, some people want lots and lots of role-playing, some people want to compromise, and they probably all want different things. So it's not easy, but that's kind of what you want to aim for, is to find out what everyone wants and try and strike a balance that way. As a player, you want to sort of make sure that the way you interact with everyone, that people get a feel for your character having some kind of personality. Hopefully not super annoying, but some people like the annoying. It can often be funny. You want to try and make sure that you interact in a way that feels like you have personality. Try, first session, when you learn everyone's characters, write down all their names, and just to make sure that you're addressing them with their in-character name. That goes for GMs too, actually.
Yeah.
It sounds obvious, but if you do that, it will really help everyone feel more attached to their characters and feel more like you care about them. And then otherwise, as a player, you want to generally be kind of a team player. Your character might want something that's different from the party, and that's okay, and you can go after that, but you have to figure out when is the point when you're causing too much of trouble, you're going to make it too hard for the game to continue, and you might need to find an excuse or a way for your character to go a little bit more in line with what the party needs to do, what the adventure is. You want to have some freedom, but you don't want your freedom to take away from everyone else's freedom to do what they want to do.
I would also say for a player, you have to think a little like a dungeon master, because you have to think about what your other players are like. So if you're in this super munchkin group and everyone is min-maxing the shit out of their characters and splat booking and dipping into different classes and everything, you can't, in that group, you might not be able to make a goofy, silly character that's sub-optimized. Meanwhile, if all of the other players are a bit more loose and a bit more focused on what their character is like, and maybe it's not the most effective build, then maybe don't go super munchkin on them.
Yeah, your objective is not to go Super Saiyan and be more powerful than the rest of the party.
Yeah, no. Even if you can, which, depending on your group, you can.
Yeah, no, it's very true. If you end up with this huge disparity in the power of the characters,
no one's happy.
No one's happy, because in order to challenge that super character, everything has to be super deadly for everyone else, or everyone else can't even hurt the enemies. And sort of goes the other way. I mean, if you're the weak link, and everyone else in the party is really powerful, you're just gonna die.
And probably get a lot of groans from your teammates.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're not going to be happy if they die and they feel like it's because you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
So, sorry guys, I missed again.
So really, be friends with your friends.
That would help, yeah.
St. Wicked also asked something that tons of people ask every time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite D&D edition, and Pathfinder included?
Well, I have never played Pathfinder, and I just looked at the PHB a little bit once or twice, and it didn't blow me away, so I didn't see any reason to move over. I really like 3.5 edition. That's what we use in TDDC, and it's good because it has a lot of support, and you can make all kinds of different characters that have support in the game rules. There are a lot of issues with the system. It's far from perfect and far from perfectly balanced. There's a fair amount of complexity there, so you have to make sure everyone's kind of on a similar page, like we were just talking about. But it has a lot of options, and we like that, and we're used to it. We've been playing 5th edition a bunch recently, and I think 5th edition is actually really good. I think that it's a good starting off point, and even if you're not starting off, it's going to be great. Now, it'll be a lot better when they get out more books, and I don't like how slow their release schedule is. They went too fast, too hard on 4th edition, I guess, because they had tons of books out there, and a lot of people did not like it, the old players. I think if people give it a chance, everyone, well, not everyone, but the majority of players should actually like 5th edition, because it's simple in ways that you want it simple, and it gives depth in ways that you want depth. It really works pretty well for everything we've tried so far. But,
no love for 2nd edition?
I started when it was 2nd edition.
I know you did, because you taught it to me.
Yeah, that was...
And then I was a very small child, very confused by Thaco.
There are a lot of people that were not small children who were also confused about Thaco.
That's like all I remember about 2nd edition, the one with Thaco.
Yeah, some of you may not have been around for Thaco. It's an acronym that means, what the hell? It's very important to understand, and you never need to learn it. It's like going back if you have to go and learn something old that mostly doesn't apply anymore, learn Latin instead, because you'll be surprised where it actually comes up and is useful and helps you to understand language more. Thaco will not help you to understand anything more. Math, D&D, nothing. But yeah, so we had lots of fun in 2nd ed, but that was more just because sitting around a table with your friends and making up characters and stories and fighting it out is a lot of fun.
Basically, you didn't have 3rd ed yet.
Yeah. Third ed was a big improvement. 3.5 was better than that. A lot of people love Pathfinder. I haven't given it that much of a chance, but I hear good things about it. I haven't looked at it enough to make a fair judgment. We have all the games we need right now.
I think my next game is going to be Pathfinder, so...
There you go. You can let me know. Zihark-san.
I refuse to try.
Probably close.
Will Demonac be doing more videos to help with specific game problems, like, for example, running an evil game?
I certainly hope to be putting out more of those videos. My RPG Q&A series, I have a bunch of them on different issues. I have one about trying to deal with someone who wants to play an evil character in your non-evil game. For an evil campaign, that's a little bit harder because it's so different in many ways, and I haven't actually run or even played in any kind of serious or long-term evil game, so it's a little bit tricky. I should point everyone to my old D&D excerpts for the fictional one from the AGC.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, I linked it in the comments. We'll link it below here, but it's not necessarily going to help you at all. But it is fun watching, just a little piece of history from the times before my webcomic in their history. That's confusing.
Well, didn't AGC had an arc that was an evil campaign,
They also had an arc that was an evil campaign, but we kind of started it off by by retelling in text what happened in their old evil campaign.
Yeah.
I'm so tempted to do a video of it. It's just it would take time. Doing all the voices is fun, though.
One of these days, you'll discover the infinite time hack.
That would be nice.
It's out there. It's gotta be.
Time stop.
Ghidorah asks, what do you do as a dungeon master if the players decide to betray each other? So, for example, if someone joins the big bad or the enemy faction and the others stay loyal to the king?
It's a tricky question, and the answer is going to depend on your group, obviously. With all those caveats aside, some of it depends how it happens. Hopefully, the player has the sense to let you know as GM ahead of time, to secretly let you know ahead of time that they are planning to do something, or that, they're saying, based on the way this party is going, my character just can't stay with them. And you've got to kind of work something out. The end game is almost certainly they're going to have to come in with a new character. But if you plan it out right, hopefully you can have a session where they get to do the betrayal. And, again, that's not easy. But if you can work it out somehow where they can have their big reveal and get to play it out themselves, hopefully you arrange things in such a way that it's not going to be a party wipe, because that will cause all kinds of bad feelings. You really don't want that. You want to try and give them a chance to have a big reveal and get their big, I betrayed you all sort of moment, and then they run away or something, and then they have to bring in a new character. That character becomes an NPC, and joins the big bad or whatever else they're doing, or becomes the new big bad. And that can be all kinds of awesome, but it's very tricky balance. The other issue that you could have with this is, what if you have no warning? What if maybe they didn't even know in advance, but a situation comes up where you presented some big drama and they felt that their character just had to go a way that you didn't expect, and certainly the rest of the party didn't expect or hoped they wouldn't, or they thought it's very easy to assume that everyone will just go along because you're a party and you watch all these TV shows and they have a band of crazy guys and they're all different, but they know they're all a party. And when the guy turns out this guy didn't know they were all a party, he was like, no, I have to steal this thing or whatever. It's going to be very, very tricky to deal with that. Again, you might have to pause the game.
Yeah, I was about to say call a timeout.
Yeah, you got to take some time to think about it, and you might have to take the betraying player aside and discuss with them what's going to happen. And if this is something where they're not going to be able to go back with the party, again, you might have to work out with them that your character's going to have to, if you're going to go through this, your character's going to have to become an NPC, and you can come in with a new character. But you want to hopefully try and work something out where they can have their moment, and they can actually play, like, the betrayal part, but then whatever happens after that, they're gone. And I would it's not always going to work out, but I would seriously try and avoid having that be like a betrayal party wipe combo. Like, if they betray the party, try and find some excuse, some arrangement. If you have to Deus Ex something, this isn't your fault, like it came up there. Figure out something so that you can split them up and not kill off all the party members, because people in real life will likely be pissed off. There's a big difference between, we went to fight this dragon and it was too hard, or we were fighting these orcs and it turned out that the fight wasn't balanced properly and there were maybe too many of them, or their cleric had too many buffs and we just died.
We rolled 8 natural ones in a row for no reason.
That happens a lot. But, so there's a difference between that, where it's like man versus the environment, you know? It's like the party was against, like, the enemies that happen to be controlled by you as the DM, and you killed them. It sucks, but there's a very different feeling to that than feeling like one of the players killed the characters of all the other players. Because that's what they're not saying, like, oh, your character was such a dick. No, you were the dick. That's what they're going to feel like. So it's a big can of worms, and I know it's probably not your fault. It probably wasn't your idea to have him or her betray the rest of them, but yeah. Good luck.
Alright. Redfield RE asks, are you still using 3.5 rules, or have you switched to 5.0?
Well, like I said, we're still using 3.5 edition rules for the TDDC campaign. Kind of thinking of starting a little side campaign in the setting. We're still going to use 3.5 rules, because the setting is kind of all 3.5. We've been running these 5th ed games with, like, Quill 18 DMing and now Briarstone DMing. That's fun.
So basically, he's doing both.
Yeah.
Hobknakus?
Hobknakus.
Hobknakas?
Hobknakas.
That person asks, can you give any advice for new Dungeon Masters?
The main advice, the main generic, like, basic level first thing I say is you want to focus on everyone having fun. Don't stress out too much over making rules mistakes and stuff like that. If you know the rules well, that's fantastic. Like, if you've been a player for a while. If you're newer to the game system, you don't know the rules as well, hopefully one or more of your players actually do know the rules well, and you got to let them know, you know, if I'm getting something wrong, help me out here. And you got to be open to the advice and just try and, if something goes wrong, you got to just sort of move forward. You know, you have to decide whether you have to go back and change it, or if it happened 2 rounds ago in combat, you're probably not going to do that. You're going to say, okay, I'm sorry, I screwed that up. We're just going to keep going. We'll do it right in the future. Don't stress too much over the errors, though. It's more important that people are having fun. You just sort of keep things flowing. You don't have to worry. Don't worry about getting everything right your first time. You're going to make tons of mistakes. Just try and learn from those mistakes. And right down to, if you had, like, after, when you guys are wrapping up for the night, just kind of ask everyone, you know, did you guys have fun? what did you like about it? What did you not like? Is there anything I can improve? You know, just ask them. It's a little bit awkward, maybe, but it doesn't have to be.
If it's awkward, you could give them little slips of paper.
Yep. Or like send them an email survey. Say,
Yeah.
could you please inform me what that is? No, but seriously, it's if you don't ask them, it's harder for you to know. If you can get good feedback from them, then everyone can have more fun next time. So
it's part of knowing your players and what your players like. Because if you had a real battle heavy session, and then all your feedback from your players is like, I wish there'd been more RP, then you can sort of counterbalance.
Yeah, you can try and adapt, and just you have to know that, like, if you're new at this, it's going to take a little practice to get really good. I'm still like not really good at a lot of things, but as long as you're trying and you're like setting up a game for them, and you tell some kind of story, people have some kind of fun moments. I'm pretty sure your players will appreciate the effort you're putting in, and you will get better.
Federico Bolano asks, that was really fun to say.
Federico Bolano.
Oh, it's very fun. How soon is Zahir, the player, coming back? That bit of the story seems to be completely ignored for obvious reasons, but it still sounds extra important.
It does sound kind of extra important, Federico. But the fact is, the Zahir's player went away. I don't know if he's coming back because he doesn't live around here. So Zahir, the character, will be back. They are going to deal with that eventually. They get sidetracked a lot because, of course, this is like side quests, the campaign. It does seem very important, but it's going to be a while till they come back to that. And unfortunately, so far anyways, Zahir the player hasn't been back. So let's see how that goes.
What happened to Dwarf Daggerface and GE7?
Well, Dwarf Daggerface got left behind in Bankton for the moment. They'll find out more about... Draven has communicated it with him a little bit via sending, just to let him know, hey, by the way, we teleported 1,000 miles away, and now we're like, bye. But you only get 25 words. He's doing okay, as far as we know at this point. And GE7, again, he's, like he said he was going to, he's been wandering into the Elven lands and trying to talk with some of the older elves and stuff like that. The elves are notoriously hard to pin down and get an answer from about anything that happened before you were born, because they find that causes a lot of problems. It's like if they're talking to a human that looks about 50, they're gonna very quickly and deftly veer off topic when you're trying to ask them questions about stuff that happened more than 50 years ago. If you're a dwarf that's about 300 years old, they'll set their threshold there, but they don't want to start talking about how they remember when like 500 years ago when this and that happened. Like, elves, they're people. You know, they have pointy ears. They got some different mannerisms and things, but most of the time you sit there and you're talking to a person. And then as soon as they start talking about how they personally were present at events that happened hundreds of years before you were born, most of the other sentients have a really hard time with that. It just throws them off, and they start acting all weird. It's not good. So the elves are very good at getting out of that. GE7 was hoping that since he was actually around 1,000 years ago when he was created, he's even been awake all that time. A lot of the Warforged that get woken up from suspended animation or whatever has happened to them, usually they don't have a lot, if any, memories from back then. GE7 remembers what it was like back then, and he can use that, and he's hoping he can be able to get some very good information from the elves about the Atarans, stuff that was happening around that era. We haven't heard anything back from him yet.
Logan Infernum McNeil asks, oh god, everyone asks this, have you considered trying to publish your TDDC setting for people to use? And the Knight of Badassness, along the same lines, asks, why don't you do a PDF for your campaign world?
Because it would take a lot of time. And, like, a lot of time. I'm already always behind in the videos, and I have other projects I want to do. I mean, making the setting for people, then you have to figure out what they want. Different people probably want different things. I mean, if you just... a lot of people, it sounds like from the comments I've had, have had a lot of success or just, like, enjoyed taking ideas from the setting that they got just from watching the videos and incorporating that in their own way, in their own worlds. Someone has, like, now whenever he makes a setting, there's always, like, a Kuatoa Empire. They don't have to be the most important thing. They're not necessarily the same as mine, but he, like, that that idea is in there now, and that's kind of cool. So you can, borrow the ideas that you like, but in terms of like writing it out as a setting, suddenly I have to put a lot of detail into areas where my party isn't necessarily going, which means a lot of extra work, and then have to put it out in some kind of quality that's appropriate to put it out, and edit it, and get rid of typos, more maps. It starts being a mess, and that's without even addressing the idea of game rules, at which point I'd have to pick a game system that's limiting to who would use it. But if I'm publishing it without game rules, then I don't know. I think you're probably better off watching the videos and getting, if you're inspired by something in there, then, borrow it, make your own version. But, yeah, also if I'm trying to make the campaign setting, am I supposed to include all kinds of stuff that would be spoilers? Because there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been revealed in the videos. Maybe the players know it. There's a lot of stuff that hasn't been revealed to the players. If I was putting out an actual setting document to explain a lot of things, there's a lot of information in there that would be spoilers that I'd rather not be putting out.
Yeah. It would almost have to be like a DM's Eyes Only book, but that doesn't work ever.
No. It does not.
Hobnakus came back. Will there be more videos like Precious Moments from D&D Vows?
Yeah, that was the name of the specific episode. Yeah. I think there will probably be some more like that. I don't know how many. But we've reached the point, we finally caught up to the point where I started recording, like, poor quality audio just in place of my poorer quality, like, written notes. Because it was distracting to be trying to write notes about things, and I would miss everything. So now, if I can decipher it from all the people talking over each other and the poor microphone quality, I have some audio notes. And as I go through them, if I find more parts like that, it's got to be pretty specific. It's got to be sort of self-contained. Like it has like a start and an end. Everything that we're talking about in that is kind of self-contained. And you also have to be able to understand what people are saying, which is not often the case in my recordings. But if I find some more good ones like that, and I'm sure there will be some more of them, then I'll try and make more of those little videos, because that was pretty funny.
Englishman1940 asked, how close is TDDC to where you guys currently are in the campaign?
Where the videos are now is somewhere around 2 years ago. And the speed at which it's been catching up is incredibly slow, because it takes me a long time to make these videos. So even though we actually haven't been playing in that campaign for more than 6 months, because we've been doing 5th ed and stuff, no danger of running out. Still at least 2 years behind. The videos are 2 years behind where we are in the campaign.
As of TDDC 29, how close is the Diluvian ceasefire from expiring?
Not too much actual time has gone by, then maybe a couple weeks, and I guess it's pretty close to when the king had to make a decision, but I think the king actually did make his decision, and he said that they were going to go for it. I don't remember if feel like that's come up in the videos. So yeah, I think they've found out by now. I don't know if maybe I wasn't clear about it in the videos, but yeah, I think the king came down on his side that yes, they're going to accept the treaty, which means so that the ceasefire would have like passed by now, but they've accepted the treaty, so they're still having a ceasefire, and we'll see how that works out.
And is TDDC played at the tabletop or online?
I think I'll link to the Tumblr post, because I did recently actually post a picture of us sitting around the table along with a couple of guests, Emma from overseas. But yeah, we play in Quill 18's basement all the time. So we sit around in person, and the table is covered in chips and dice, and we do stuff.
The Creepy Lantern, which is a name that I adore, asked, have you ever planned for a total party wipe with the gang? What would you do if it happened?
I never planned to intentionally cause a full party wipe. I have had numerous situations where I was concerned about a party wipe, both in the planning phase and when it actually was happening. And yeah, at some point, if we have a full party wipe, then they wipe and we'll make new characters. Or now that we're thinking of starting a side campaign, we'll probably just move over to that. But at some point, this will end. TDC's got to end one way or another. When they get to level 20, or if they all die or something. But we'll still be adventuring, and probably still adventuring in the world for some time to come. But yeah, I definitely don't plan to actually wipe them intentionally. But there's some hard fights, and some of them get pretty rough. That Daggerface one that would have been really stupid wipe because of the various reasons that I detailed in that video and the extras.
Right, because Angel wasn't there.
Angel wasn't there, and I had poorly, the encounter was very tough for the whole party, so I had barely removed anything at all for the fact that Angel was missing. I miscalculated horribly, and that was not fair at all. So that's why I was pretty hesitant in that one. But normally, if they all die, then they all die. We'll just have to figure it out from there.
Jacob, I don't like your last name.
Jacob Keche or Koeche?
I don't know.
It's probably not Koeche. Not a lot of languages actually use the OE that way. So.
I don't know.
Sorry.
So Jacob asks, how much time does it actually take to draw, edit, and render your TDDC videos?
Infinity. I can actually answer for the rendering part.
Hooray!
When I have to render a video, for an actual TDDC video, it usually takes somewhere in the neighborhood 2.5 hours on my computer. And it would be much worse actually if I was showing my face a lot more, because actual video takes more time to render than the mostly still images or even just flash animations. But I do need to get a better computer for that, but it's still going to take a while. That's not the big problem, though. The big problem is it takes a really long time to draw. Some of the things that I draw don't take all that long. I've gotten a little bit better at it. A lot of the images I'm able to come up with something serviceable in a shorter amount of time. I've been doing it 30 episodes-ish now, so I'm able to make better images and faster most of the time. But some things that are important, or just some things are just hard to make them look a way that's acceptable to what I have in mind. I can end up spending all my free time for 2 days, the evenings of 2 work nights, on a single image. Then once I get that image there, I probably make 10 versions of that image, which don't take very much time individually each. I kind of have one where he's on this part of the screen, and then one where he's on that part of the screen, and then one where he's turned the other way, and it's stupid piddly stuff like that. Because apparently in Premiere I can't just say flip this image. That would be nice, but that would only cut it in half. I would still have to make a whole bunch of. It doesn't take too long to do different versions of most of these things though. I'm making them in Flash, so I can literally I just save a new copy of the file. I take the image and say flip horizontal, and then move it around and then export again. But, to actually, the editing the video it takes really a long time for me. Once I have the script, which, how long that takes varies, depending, some episodes, the script comes out pretty quickly, others I have to work on it a lot. But, then I go and record it, that, I usually end up with a recording that is, an hour and a half worth of stuff for these latest episodes. They're half-hour episodes, an hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe.
And I do my lines, and that's another 20 minutes.
Yeah. So I have to go through all those and cut them down to, well, you can see there's only, actually 30 minutes or less. So it takes, and the amount of time it takes, you just imagine, if it's 2 hours of video, I'm probably watching, on average, every inch of that video, 3 times or something. So that's 6 hours of just basic going through and cutting it, and then in practice it's going to take a lot longer because I've got to put in all the images at different points, and it's sometimes very hard to choose between different takes of the line, either because they all suck or because they're all similar but slightly different. I can't decide which is better.
Or they're all identical and you just can't choose because they're identical.
If they're actually all identical, hopefully I try and be aware of that now. So hopefully I notice no, if there's no appreciable difference, I don't need to figure out which of these 6 takes is best, because no one is going to notice, including myself. So if I can recognize that they're that similar, that's easy. If there are 2 very different takes that are both good in different ways, that sucks. It's so hard deciding which one to keep in. I spend a horrendous amount of time on these stupid videos.
You kind of just briefly mentioned it, but Geek2 Studios asks, what programs do you use to draw your world maps and your animation?
Yeah, I draw everything in, Adobe Flash, although my version is so old. I think it might still be Macromedia Flash. No, I think I did upgrade to an Adobe one at some point, but it's a super old version of Flash, and I'm sure the newer ones are better, but they're super expensive. Like they used to be like $1,600, and they go down to $1,400. But now Adobe will let you use all their software for the low price of $60 per month forever, which is not that low a price. I haven't been overly inclined to do that, although if my Patreon keeps picking up, I might switch at some point. But at this point, I'm using the ones I'm familiar with, and if I have to change to new software, that's going to slow me down too. So, yeah.
And then you use like Premiere for the animations.
Yeah, I use Premiere to edit things. So most of the video, I actually edit sound a lot in Audacity, which is much quicker and easier. I go through all these steps. I take the video and I record it in XSplit. Then I go in. I strip out the audio as an MP3 in Audacity, and I try and clean up the sound because there's a lot of crappy background noise. Like my recording environment is not great. And then
my recording.
If I'm smart, I edit it there because I'm usually nowadays most of it I don't even bother keeping this footage with my face. I just basically throw it out. I have the audio and I go and edit that, and that makes it work a lot better when I'm editing it in my crappy old version of Premiere on my not new enough computer. But, yeah, if the parts with my face, I'll record like a much shorter video. It's just the parts that have my face now. And then, again, I strip out the audio, I clean it up, and then I go into, like, Windows Movie Maker, because it's fast and easy. I just shove the audio back onto it, hopefully synced up. And then I export that. Then that goes into Premiere, and then I, like, cut it as necessary, and it's quite a process. But, yeah, I mostly draw stuff in Flash.
So here's another perennial question. Second Perk asks, is AGC done forever then? Because I want more AGC.
I want more AGC too. I've been working on coming up with ways to get it I'm never going to get it back going as like a regular weekly strip forever, because that's like, I already don't have time for any of the things I'm doing. But I'm hoping to find a way to bring that back. It's hard because I've been working more and for a lot more of the year than I had previously. Previously, I was only getting contracts for 6 to 8 months a year, and I've worked 13 of the last 14 months, and it's not quitting anytime soon. So, yeah, it's hard to find time for new projects or for doing the steps I need to revive the old projects. I want to say it's not done forever, but I'm not giving any ETA. And if there's more stuff, it's going to be more like, it's going to be like a little set of stuff that comes out. Like I'll do like 2 or 3 strips to wrap up right exactly like the game session that they were at there, and then maybe put out like an adventure module for them, whereby I put out one every week for a few weeks of them doing something. And we'll see. I don't want to rip up that storyline because I had stuff I wanted to do too.
Seriously, guys, if you find the infinite time hack,
that would be good.
Mindsword asks, how did you and your D&D group meet? I assume they mean D&D group. They just said group.
Yeah. Well, I met Quill 18 in university, and we were going to a lot of the same classes, and we ended up hanging out together and doing stuff, and that was pretty cool. And then years later, I ended up, when his website was getting big, I came and worked for him for a year in his hometown, and ended up moving here, and I just sort of got incorporated into a D&D group with a bunch of his friends that he had played with before.
Second Perk also asks, how much does Demonac want a clay portrait of his face? Because I may have one of those lying around.
I think I'm okay for that right now. I'm good. You can keep it.
You can look at your face anytime you want.
I can.
You've got cameras, and mirrors.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen my face. It's fine.
We could put some clay on your face.
No.